Welcome. Scott here. Here is a quick boss guide for the upcoming story chapter Act 3 Chapter 10 Part 1 Imposing Destiny. The event marks the debut of a new character from Final Fantasy II Minwu. The event synergy units are Minwu, Locke, 9, Vanille, Cissnei and Shadow. Minwu's gear will be making their debut, which includes his FR and burst along with C90 awakenings. All event characters will be getting their force enhancements. We will be fighting 2 White Dragon which has 100 million HP each. They absorb the ice elemental attacks. The turn requirement is 70. The HP requirements is 10,000. Before I continue further, here is a small disclaimer clause for the video. The guide is written based on the time that the event was released for the Japanese version. Please do note that it is possible that the boss fight mechanics might differ when the actual event is released in global. Like most other Shinryu fights, the boss gains increased brave damage and gain resistances at start of the fight and 79% HP threshold. Bringing a support like Lunafreya, Charlotta, Aerith, Ramza, Selpha that grants damage boosting aura will make your fight easier. As the boss gains substantial boost to their defenses with the auras, it is important to inflict debuffs that lower their defenses. If you are intending to use Lunafreya, it might be better to let her EX buff expire along with holy elemental units. But I will suggest you to bring other supports if you have better options than her. For this month, 5 of the events will feature a form of elemental lockout. For this fight, all brave damage deal except from holy elemental or non-elemental will face a brave damage resistance of 100%. You can still bypass this with brave cap damage or rainbow, brave gains mechanics like Kate Sith or Charlotta. You can bring holy enchanters to help your party. Minwu will be joining our long list of party holy enchanters which include Kuja, Paladin Cecil, Sidor, and Eiko. Yuri also offers holy enchant during his force time. Ash is a dual elemental enchanter of holy and thunder. I won't recommend to use Ash here as half of her kit will be resisted as the boss absorbs thunder. This boss fight feature lots of HP attack as the boss will do a lot of frequent HP attacks. Damage mitigation, break immunity, shields or brave floor will help a lot for this fight. You can consider bringing Ursula, Yang, 9, Warrior of Light, Vaughn, Core, or Locke. Deleting the boss will help to reduce the boss force time charging bonus, so you can consider bringing a designated turn deletion unit. Other than Minwu, you can consider bring Zidan, Amidalion, Ultimecia, or Enacross. Enacross is a dual holy and dark elemental unit, so do note that half of her kit will resist it. As the fight don't have thresholds trigger or turn warp along with minimal gameplay mechanics, you shouldn't have any difficulty in the fight. The boss has a substantial amount of HP to shred. If you have Minwu fully geared, he can solo this fight with a break immunity call like Core. As we are no longer have Vanille plus fights, the boss guide will be focused primarily on Shinryu fights. In Shinryu, you need to understand the effects gained by the boss as the force gauge build up, its force ability and its force time effect. If your party has low force levels, it is highly certain that the boss force gauge will build up faster than yours. To have a better understanding on the basics of the force gauge mechanics and Shinryu fights, I have done a video explaining the mechanics. I have included the link to the video under the comments and video description for your quick reference. Unlike other Shinryu fight, this fight doesn't have any mechanic changes as the boss force gauge built up. Throughout the fight, the boss will gain 100% brave damage resistance to all elements except for holy and non-elemental brave damage. Avoid bring other elemental units unless you have means to overcome them. The boss force gauge will build up faster as its HP is lowered. You can refer to the table on the screen for the percentages. The force gauge will charge up faster by 0.5% when a member acts or reduces by 0.5% when you delete a boss turn. At the 100% threshold, the boss will use its force ability, Blizzard Plus, and activates its force time for 4 turns. The boss force ability, Blizzard Plus, will result the boss cleanses all its debuffs, reset its break status and unleash an AoE Brave plus HP attack. It will gain 3 consecutive turns on its following turn. Upon using the Force ability, the boss will enter into its Force time where the gauge will start to emit a red hue with a counter of 4 on its gauge. When the Force time is activated, the bosses will gain an enhancement that results your party unable to gain Brave when the Force time is active. You can reduce the Force time duration by initiate a turn deletion. When your party are exposed to breaks, your party will receive more damage. Thus bringing units that offers break immunity, Brave floor, shields or damage mitigation will help a lot to survive the HP attacks during the boss Force time. Alternatively, you can supercharge your Force gauge with a Force charger and nuke them out with a powerful FR powered burst phase to finish them off. To freeze the enemy's Force time effects, you need to use a Force ability that doesn't deal Brave damage. Other than Minwu's FR, Aerith is the other one. Now let's go through the fight key mechanics. The fight is really simple. The boss has a standard rotation cycle that you can see on the screen. It will start off with Wing Dive, a single target melee Brave plus HP attack. It will grant the boss 50% speed up for 3 turns. This is followed by a generic Brave attack. Lastly, it will use Frost Bomb, an AoE Brave plus HP attack which grants the boss 3-turn attack plus 50% up buff. On its next turn, the boss will return back to using Wing Dive. We have come to the last part of the guide. Recommended FR units for this fight are Minwu, Aerith, Tidus, Core, Rinoa and Tifa. Generally, all non-elemental FR works well here. Only Minwu and Aerith FR will help to cancel the boss Force time. To speed up your Force gauge filling, you can bring Force charges like Pernello, Selpha, Aerith, Charlotta, and Lunafreya. If you are using Lunafreya, you might want to consider dropping her EX buff, otherwise she will cause the entire attack to be absorbed as the boss absorbs the ice elemental. Turn deletion is a valuable utility here as it will help to reduce the boss Force time whenever you delete a boss turn. Other than Minwu, you can consider Zidan or Amidalayon as your turn deletion specialist. Break immunity, shields or Brave floor mechanics are very useful here in guarding the boss attacks. As the boss have a ton of HP, bring units that offers link strike attacks like Core, Kain, Freya, Noctis, Cissnei, Yang, or Cloud of Darkness will be useful. The boss isn't immune to delay, so you can abuse that as well. However, it is important you have means to handle the boss Force time. You won't want to face a prolonged fight of non-Brave gains. Before I end the guide, let's cover a bit on the featured FR unit. Minwu is a party holy enchanter with great off-turn damage unit loaded with trap mechanics that makes him one of the best AoE damage dealers. Aside to holy elemental lockout stages, Minwu excels best in fights that feature 2 or more enemies. Firstly, let's cover his FR conditions. 1. You will get 5% HP damage boost for dealing holy elemental damage. By having Minwu in the party, you will fulfill this condition. Avoid bringing other elemental units so you can make full use of this condition. This also applies to off-turn damage as well, like traps, link strike, or counters. 2. You will get 5% HP damage boost for any form of off-turn HP damage which covers for any traps, follow-up, link strike or counters. If you read his FR based on the percentages, it looks underwhelming at the first glance. However, Minwu's trap triggers are like non-other trap units. Firstly, let's talk about how the trap trigger mechanics works. His trap is a Brave gain, AoE Brave plus HP attack, and it will heals the party as well. You can reset the traps with his LD or his S2. The traps will also reset back to 6 after his Nobel Soul additional attack. The trap trigger will go off 1 per enemy, and each turn the debuff duration is lowered. If you are fighting 2 enemies, there will be 2 traps trigger. If you are fighting 3 enemies, there will be 3 traps trigger. He will trigger an additional attack when his overhead Nobel Soul stacks reaches 5. Nobel Soul will gain a stack per Minwu's attacks, which includes his trap trigger. Minwu will reduce his trap duration by 1 turn with his HP++, Brave++, S1 or EX. When his BT aura is active, the trap's duration will decrease by 2 turns instead. Thus, you will see double traps trigger when his BT aura active. Let's say you are fighting 3 enemies with at least 2 turns of Holy Anchor debuff. Minwu has BT effect up and uses his EX. There will be 6 instances of Holy Anchor trap trigger and at least 1 additional attack from Noble Soul. Here is a quick summary of Minwu's skill buttons. His S1 teleport 16 can be used to delete enemy turns. His turn deletion will become AoE when his Master White Mage stack reaches 5. Upon the AoE turn deletion is triggered, it will reset back his Master White Mage stacks to 1. Using the skill will reduce his Holy Anchor trap's debuff duration by 1. Use this ability when you need to refresh his buff. His S2 Holy 16 allows you to set his traps back to 6 and grants him 2 stacks of Master White Mage. Use it only when you need to set his traps after the bosses cleanses his debuff. His EX Soul Convergence is his key damage button and grants his free ability use on his next turn and refresh his other framed buff power to overcome destiny. His LD will fill his EX to max and reset his active traps debuff to 6. His BT aura isn't great for party utility, but it will increase the occurrence of the trigger of his traps. Generally, his standard attack rotations are: set your traps with his LD. Use his EX whenever it is up. Spam his HP++ if you don't want to delete the enemy's turns. Use his S1+ if you are okay in deleting the enemy's upcoming turns or the enemies are immune to turn deletion. Use this to refresh his Master White Mage buff. Never ever touch his S2 button unless you need to burst heal, reapply his traps or his Master White Mage buff. If you activate his burst with a free skill, his burst rotation is S1+, HP++ 3 times, S1+, EX and his BT finisher. If you activate his burst phase without a free skill, his burst rotation is HP++ 3 times, EX, S1+, S1 and lastly his BT finisher. You can replace the last skill in his BT with his rotation if you're force time on his last turn for maximum damage. Overall, Minwu is a very rewarding off-turn damage dealer. He won't function as well if you don't have him fully geared. If you intend to build Minwu up, it is either all or no investment. With this, I have come to the end of my boss guide presentation. Hopefully you find it useful. If you like the video, please give a like. Please subscribe to my channel for future gaming content. Good luck for the fight in the coming hours. Bye.